Okay, stand by.
Just about 4:45, and take a look at this viral video from La Junta in southeastern Colorado. All right,
They want to do politically hard,
What's up, everyone? Today I'm joined by Steezo and King Chris as normal. We're going to cover an interesting observation. Has to do with ancient civilizations. Let me quickly pull this up. So, the elephant in the room is the title of this article. It comes from Santo Barthez on X. Now, before this article, I haven't really seen anything from him. Steezo, Chris, have you guys heard of this guy yet?
No, I've never heard of him before. No.
So we're gonna go through what he has to say about these extrusions or knobs, if you want to put it that way, nubs. But you got these large flat stones weighing multiple thousands of tons. In weight that they all have flat surfaces, fit together perfectly with each other, but tend to have these extrusions on them. So let's just start at the beginning. There's been a lot of chatter online in recent days, weeks, about ancient history. This is to be expected. Whoever has labeled those pseudo, in quotations, receive any mainstream attention. The appeal to authority crowd will appear and remind everyone that they spent a lot of money studying under those who have also spent a lot of money. Then the authorities arrived with their approved truths. They're experts. They will remind you, relax, empty your head of those unapproved thoughts, and stop believing what you're lying. Okay, so for off the bat, I appreciate that he's calling out the fact that there's a certain group that are willing to kind of think outside the box, and then there's a group that, it's taught in colleges. We don't have to.
The flint dribbles, the double dribbles.
The double dribbles. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting at right here is that, there are two groups. There's a group that's willing, that there are some that are highly educated, and then there's some that like looking at it from a different perspective. This is another picture that he offers. And you can see clearly here, there is an extrusion on the left, an extrusion on the middle left, and an extrusion on the right side of the photo. So, however, there's a bigger issue that honestly seems to be either passively ignored or intentionally disregarded. I have to call it out. If you're going to be calling out scholars, you might want to check your spelling and actually proofread what you're writing, because when you're fucking up on grammar and you start calling out, yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I'm saying. Like, you might want to get your grammar checked if you're going to call out other scholars. Regardless if you call them nubs or knobs, both experts and pseudos have done a remarkably good job, or poor job, of acknowledging them as a true mystery. In my opinion, this is this one topic that should unite both groups into answering a few key questions. So I will say, and we were just talking about this, that I was kind of lost too up until this point. But this is kind of the area where it starts to get a little bit more interesting, especially with this photo. So before we read it, I mean, it's kind of hard to say, like,
it's so interesting, dude. I'm still kind of lost. I don't understand exactly what the point of those would be.
Yeah, and that's where I'm kind of lost too, is like why would you have you pretty much have a perfect wall built right here with
right.
And we still don't understand how these stones are cut. I don't care what people are saying. They're not done with hammer and chisel. Like, right. they just aren't. Like,
well, then look how flawless the majority of the wall is, how well it's put together, how smooth it is. They would just purposely leave those imperfections on the outside unless it was for something,
Well, and not only that, you've got, let's call that a third of the stones in this photo have extrusions, and then we can call it like maybe 1%, 2% maybe, they have intrusions. So what are the intrusions for? And regardless of what you're seeing, you can't argue the how it's done is unexplainable, right? Like,
right.
and this one right here where my mouse is hovering, that looks like it looks like an innie outie belly button. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is a clear innie, this is a clear outie. This one kind of gives you the like, okay, well, how, but also how do you cut into to stone like this? I'm gonna argue not argue, speculate that this is probably a hard stone in the geological sense, that it's not just a stone that you can, like sandstone, that you can just cut into with ease. It's probably something along the lines of basalt or granite, limestone maybe. But let's go back up to the article. When did they first appear? Their spread in the Mediterranean into Anatolia and India would seem logical as an exchange of ideas, often accompanied by the exchange of goods, and goods and trade stretches back into the deep past. Their appearance in other parts of the world becomes an issue when viewed from the approved timeline. Again, this is where the guy kind of got me. I'm like, he's clearly locked in the sense where he knows that there's a difference between mainstream history and pseudo archaeology and history. Like, I hate to say it, like, I agree with him. I don't even hate to say it. I agree with him that like there is a clear line, as we just spoke about. Now, one thing, Stizo, if you wouldn't mind kind of touching on, is the Anatolia and the geographic kind of aspect that we were talking about prior.
So part of the thing that I saw was like what he was talking about was like your normal trade routes back then, coming from the Far East or Asia, back, that'd been Marco Polo made it famous, of course, but that trade route had been going up way back thousands of years before that. But Mediterranean, obviously, we know where that's at. That would be, any of the nations around there. Anatolia is, a lot of people don't know where that's an older name for a region of the, like, around the Black Sea area of like Turkey, or like the Caucasus Mountain area, Southern Caucasus, or where, like, kind of where Ukraine is, or the old parts of the old Soviet Union. And then you go into India, which that would have been the normal trade route back then. That would eventually take you through Persia, into India and the Far East. And that's where, I mean, a lot of ideas were exchanged, not just trades and goods, but also science, math. A lot of ideas came down those roads and everything. But what he was talking about too is, he was saying there's other areas, like in South America, where they have those same knobs and stuff going on. I don't know. Like, when he still doesn't in this article say, though, the dates of when these things were built.
This is fair.
Which is, so I don't know, like, I need a frame of reference. Like, are we talking a couple thousand years ago, or 9,000 years ago? I would say it's probably closer around, not too far, maybe around the
I'd say 2,000 to 4,000.
Maybe around Alexander the Great time, maybe.
But that lands in what I was saying. I would say about 2,000 to 4,000 years is what I would guess.
Yeah,
even still, the stonework to be able to drill a hole like that.
Right. What I thought was funny, though, it doesn't matter when it was. It looks like, whoever built the sides and stuff, but it looks like they were still using the government to build the roads. Look.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Also, it's like sure, yeah, that was done with hammer and chisel. It just would have taken about 3 months to get. We don't know the depth, but you know what I'm saying, to get 12 inches. It's probably going to take fucking a month long to get there. But yeah, I appreciate you offering that geology aspect in that sense, or frame of thought rather. So his next point is, what are the common traits when found on ashlars? When nubs are found on site, there are some curious consistent shapes, placements. There are nubs that are square, triangle, and D-shape. circular that are just some of the shapes. There are examples of different lengths and depths. Most common number of nubs found on a given block is 1 or 2. It's rare to find a block with more than 2, which it's kind of a nothing burger in my opinion for his perspective on this. And honestly, if we look into this photo, I don't really know why he presented this photo with that argument, right? Because all I see is a bunch of blocks with nubs on them, like circle nubs specifically.
It's not
So,
really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes me think, like,
Yeah,
like he might have a point here, but this
like
photo,
it looks like Legos.
It does kind of look like Legos now that you're saying it.
okay, well, now that actually brings me to a point that, like, so I know working in construction that there comes a point where you use what you got. What if these stone structures stand still today because these nubs fit into these extrusions fit into the intrusions? So what if the Lego thought and the whole shoot, what are those, like, it's almost Lincoln logs. Like, what if it's a Lincoln log effect, right? And they happen to, and this is a corner structure. Like, what if they're like, oh, we ran out of material, let's not cut any new blocks, let's just fit them, let's use what we have and fit them together.
Yeah,
because that is kind of a human thing, right? Is like using what you have, adapting.
Union workers back then, they were lazy.
Yeah.
Like, you know what, man? I don't get paid for this.
Yeah.
I'm only working 8-hour days, man. These guys don't pay me enough. It's hilarious.
Oh my God.
Someone in the comments was saying something about their striking points to, like, that people would hit and it would create sound through the structure.
Good. That's a good one.
Yeah, and, could be, I guess, but that doesn't. Oh, sorry. Continue your thought.
No. You're good. They were saying how quartz, I guess, reacts electrically to sound. So a lot of the stone that they built with was quartz. So maybe it could be something like that.
Sure, but quartz, I mean, okay, are they talking pure quartz or are they talking like granite, which has quartz in it?
Granite.
I was gonna say, because quartz is a clear material. It's a crystal. It's a mineral. And here it's an obvious that's not the case, you know. Right. So that's why I was kind of guessing on what the material is. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on this, but you'd have to say, just in this photo, 50% of it is clean in the sense, surfacely clean, and then the other 50% has extrusions or intrusions or extrusions. So I would argue the Lincoln log idea kind of fits better.
That is a better. That does fit better.
I agree. Yeah, that definitely.
And what if these extrusions, the extrusions fit together, and then that's why you have these structurally sound stone buildings and walls, and because they're actually fitting together with each other, and whether there's an earthquake or not, or a hurricane or whatever, wherever these are built, that they don't actually have the chance to dismantle because they're fit tongue and groove, you know.
That's actually a really good idea. It makes sense.
So that covers that. Now this one's kind of hard to explain, the association with. Okay, before we get into the water and the association with water, I want to kind of pull this up. The only thing, if we're going to base it, if I'm going to base my Lincoln log theory on these photos, this doesn't really, it kind of matches, but you've got hieroglyph or, engravings on some stones, and then you've got flat stone surfaces with these knobs. So the way I'm going to think about this is that you go to Home Depot, you get certain material already pre-built and pre-cut, and then you do whatever you want to do with them. And maybe these people back then were just like, we're not going to shave these nubs off. We'll just do what we want to do. Even though it was 4,000 years ago, human DNA and human thought process, I think, is pretty similar. And they're like, it's a lot more, it might have been like a lot more work or a lot more cost effective to just ignore the fact that these extrusions exist.
Right.
They put it on and be like, they'll still, like, our structure will still stand. It'll still look good. I mean, you can't argue the level of precision of this cut, where my mouse is going, like they're fitting in perfectly. I doubt you'd be able to even put a stick, let alone, or put a piece of paper, let alone a stick in between those blocks, right?
Yeah.
And given the size, I'd argue they're probably 5,000 to 10,000 tons per, So what are your guys' thoughts just on this photo? Because I'm actually starting to really think the Lincoln log aspect is starting to have some truth to it.
That's all I can really definitively think of is something like that.
Yeah, I'm with you all on that one because I don't see because like yeah, even though that some of the cuts and they're smooth and all that, there is some like obviously look if you look at it, it's not like it's straight line. Like if you look nowadays the way we build, everything is like cut diameters and or cut like in square feet, tile, all that stuff. It doesn't. So it's an actual square. Each block is the same size.
Yeah.
These are the same shape, but they're different sizes of them. Hence, they
Yeah.
can block them in. So that's your Lincoln log theory. But they cut the stones too, like right there. We're just showing right now how it's curved. They had to
Oh,
make,
yeah.
they had to make that fit. So they're just cutting
Well,
different dimensions of it.
and still you see the knob, you
Yeah.
see the knob or the nub. So what this third perspective is the association with water. There seems to be a theme of water when nubs are found in Sardinia and India. They're found frequently on the sacred wells. In
Mm.
Peru, they're found near fountains. And this to me looked like this bottom intrusion looked like it looked like a drainage system. So it drains down and then comes out into the bottom. And I'm thinking, based off of, I could be wrong because I'm not a geologist, but I'm thinking the dark stone up at the top half mean that there was other natural means of immersion or erosion rather, in comparison to the bottom stone, where that could have been underwater.
That's what I was
And
thinking. Waterline.
you have the darker half on top and you have the lighter half on bottom, and that could be explained from hundreds, maybe thousands of years of it being submerged.
Right.
So, you've got, and I don't know, this looks like erosion. This looks like erosion, but like this one up at the top left where my mouse is could be a filter situation. I don't know. It's really hard to say, but I don't think we're far off on this. And again, you've got a random nub in the middle of the photo, and the nub or knob, however you want to call it, again, like it's in a random spot. I think this could be like all we have are extrusion pieces. We don't have any more extrusion pieces. Let's just throw one of these there. We'll make a quick, not a quick cut, but
Yeah,
I don't know. It's hard. That actually kind of goes against what I was saying before with the Lincoln log. Like, why would you have that nub?
Yeah. Why would it be there?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It doesn't. Even throwing all these theories out there, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Like it's definitely a difficult one to kind of put a finger on.
Yeah.
Like scroll down to this pic. Yeah, look at that one right there, an off put like all the way across.
Well, but okay. Also with this one, that looks like to me two different blocks, right? So if you cut it down in the middle, you have one extrusion on the top left and one intrusion, or sorry, you have two extrusions, one on the top left, one on the bottom right.
Yeah.
And it's reflected on the other side. So to me, it begs the perspective that it's the same. It was duplicate stones stacked on top of these other ones.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to drive it home. I'm just saying that's what it looks like to me across
Check out the picture below that one. Check that one out. That's an interesting one.
Mhm.
How it's
Yeah, like
a line down the side of the cliff, kind of.
also that it might not be bedrock, but I'm pretty sure it's bedrock. It's cut into a mountainside, regardless.
Right.
That doesn't look like it was placed there. That looks like it was cut out there.
Yeah.
And why?
And it's next to water also.
And what if they had a method of cutting these things out without, like, what am I trying to say here? Like, maybe they cut this out knowing that there would be an extrusion on the piece of block that they cut.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I don't know.
So the one thing I would like to see, because he's got, okay, that picture, the bottom picture there is from Sri Lanka. Okay. The one above that's from Peru. So that's two different continents, far from each other. The ones above those were, one I think was from like Mediterranean. There's one in Hawaii. Okay. That's a Hindu monastery in Hawaii. And then you keep going that, yeah, there's the one for Sri Lanka. But they talk about how you'll find
India.
Sardinia, which is in the Mediterranean. Okay. I'm sorry, it's not. It's also it's in the India area. But when you look at the different ones they talk about in Anatolia.
Well, this one's Sardinia.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So like my thing is, what is the what are the dates that they think these were built? And because we watch videos or all the time, and they'll talk about like the different civilizations, and you'll see like usually there's a correlation, even if it's like 2,000 years apart from when something was built. There's similarities. I would just like to see as far as the architecture goes, what's the timeline, what's the, and then we can kind of see if there was a possibility of the cultures being linked together as far as the architecture. You know what I mean?
And I have to say a couple things. So if we look at, where is it? Oh man. If we look at this one. Tell me that this is from India, but tell me that doesn't give you representation or at least reference of Egypt and the way they were doing things.
Yeah,
that's what I thought. That's what I thought when I first saw it.
Yeah.
I thought this was at least in the Middle East, but it's not. It's in the Southeast, which is Asia, so it or India rather. So really what I in terms of the dates, it kind of makes me push to maybe there was a civilization, not a civilization, but a conglomerate civilization,
a worldwide thing.
Yeah.
That's just another example of there's plenty of evidence right there from points all over the globe.
And to go back to what the original author of this article, Santo Barthez, was talking about how it's, the people that are denying this are the ones who are not being paid, but you pay for the education from people that have been paid, and it's the same cycle of information. They're not willing to branch out because they can't explain these type of things. And so, I think I'm gonna wrap it up there. We're right about 25 minutes. This was a crazy one.
It was a crazy one, man. It's very interesting for sure.
That's why I wanted to do this, and I was lost too, but I started to have these kind of just thoughts and perspectives on maybe how they were built and why they were built. Thank you everyone for showing up tonight. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Steezo.
No problem.
If you're new here, please join the Discord. Offer whatever perspective you want. We have a great time over there, and everyone have a good night, and please look out for the next video.
Later.
Thank you.
Later.